Hi everyone, I'm JD from Willowbound Journals, and in this video I am working in my reading journal. I absolutely love this journal. It's from Quirky Cup Collective. I call it my princess journal. The cover is just so stunning, and I've been having fun filling it in, and today I am recording some of the books that I read for the latest book bingo that my local book club ran. So as you watch me fill in some book review pages, I'm going to share about all of the books that I read for this challenge. So it was Halloween themed, and it ran for the month of October. And so we had a bingo card with a list of categories that we could choose books for. And part of the fun of book bingo is the research phase, where you look up books that can fit each category. And yeah, it was really fun getting some book recommendations from friends, and it's a great chance to tick off books that I've always wanted to read, and especially books that I probably wouldn't read any other time, but because I'm forced to because of the categories, it's a great opportunity to actually read books that I just don't ever get round to. And this particular book bingo gave me a challenge because I'm not really into scary books at all. I don't do horror. I don't like watching horror movies or anything like that. So my challenge was to pick the least scary books in each of the categories. And I read 19 books in 1 month for this challenge, and I'm glad to report that I did fill in the entire book bingo card. So that was fun. In February earlier this year, our book club also ran another book bingo. That one was a bigger one where I actually read 28 books in 1 month. And I actually found that one to be so life-changing, and I wish that I'd kept a document, a journal for that challenge. But now that I know how impactful they can be and how fun it is to record my thoughts on the books that I've been reading and what I learned from them and all that kind of thing, this reading journal came in the perfect time because I got it for my birthday, which was in September. So it was ready for me in October to be able to do my book reviews for book bingo. Okay, so let me go through all of the books that I read, and I'll just share some thoughts on them. And there's probably going to be spoilers. So if you don't mind spoilers, then you can be safe watching this. But if you don't like spoilers, maybe skip the section where you hear the title of the book that you want to read. The first book that I read was called All the Lies, and this ticked off the category for a book that scared me. And I was really excited about this book. I found it just on Kindle, on Amazon, when I was in my research phase. Basically, when it comes to book bingo, I want to find books that are page turners that I can read in one sitting. So it's just super easy to get through them real quick. And so I can usually tell, when I read a free sample on Amazon, I can tell within, the first few paragraphs or, even the first few sentences, if that book is going to hook me. And so when I read All the Lies, the little sample, I was like, yes, I'm hooked. Let's read it. It's a mystery. Let's go ahead. So there was a section in this book that scared me where, again, spoilers, I'm just going to talk about these books for my own fun, pretty much. There's this part towards the end of the book where the roses, this lady was sent some flowers, and the flowers were ripped off the stems. And that was like a callback to an earlier moment in this book when it was done by a certain person who this lady was running away from. And so when you find out later on that she receives some flowers that are falling off the stems, my instant thought was, oh no, he's back. He's found her. Twist, it wasn't actually him. It was just someone messing with her. So anyway, yeah, it was, that moment scared me. So yeah, All the Lies. It fell flat for me, that book though, because, well, it did hook me. I read it in one day. The writing, I just felt like it was more of like a skeleton of a book. There was really good plot, really good themes that it could have explored. It could have really gone into some deep territory, but I just felt like it felt rushed and surface level. So it had a really great premise though, really great themes to work with, and I felt like with a bit more development, and I just felt like there was no character development at all. But if that got developed and some of the more deeper emotional themes, it could be something absolutely amazing. Not just like a surface thriller, but something that makes you think really deeply. Given the title, All the Lies, there was a point where it did make me question, like, what's happening here? Like, I didn't know who to believe in this story. And there was a moment where no one was believing the main character, and I started to get very frustrated. I was like, oh no one's believing her. So the book did a really good job in actually making me feel things, feel emotions, which is the mark of a good book, I reckon. So it did some really good things. I just wish it had been further developed. That would take it to sort of the next level. The next book that I read was for the category A Book That Begins with the Letter O. And it was really amazing. I was just at the op shop in preparation for Book Bingo, seeing if I could find some books that were cheap, that could tick off any of these boxes. And I did find one, On Living it was called. And this one, I already had an inkling. As soon as I saw it, I had this inkling that this was going to be a significant book, and it was. I got a lot of insights from it. I took a lot of notes. Some really profound thoughts came from it, some new perspectives, basically giving me a whole lot of greater empathy and understanding for people in hospice care, and people like the elderly, and people who may feel like they've lost their dignity and no one sees or hears them, maybe because they literally have lost the ability to speak, or lost the ability to communicate. And so just having such empathy for people and care, the way this lady showed up and was just present with them, and loving them through her presence, and listening to them, and allowing them to come to their own conclusions as they looked back on their lives, to help them find peace as they told the story of their lives. And sort of like narrative therapy, the idea that when we can shape our narrative in a meaningful way, it can help us therapeutically. So it was a really all-round really great book. 5 stars. I definitely want to read that again for sure. The next book I read was called The Year I Stopped to Notice, and this is for the category of under 200 pages. And this one was inspired by the lovely Kerry, who shared this book, and I got it, and it was very, very sweet, very charming, and funny as well. There were two, it's this lady's sort of observations of things she sees and overhears, and there were 2 in particular that I related to most, where I think one was a man or I can't remember, man or woman was leaning forward, and they leant forward so much that their nose hit the window of a display. Maybe it was like a jewelry display or something. I was like, yeah, I've done that before. And then there was another one where a man was, I think, on his way to the bus, like he was trying to run towards the bus, but he had like 10 bags, I'm exaggerating here, 10 bags and like a Christmas tree in one hand or something. Or maybe I'm getting 2 of them mixed up. There was one where a guy was caught up in the straps of his bag or something, and just, I think in the first story or snippet, he couldn't make the bus because he just realised I'm hampered too much. And then the second one, he was just like, all of a sudden laughed at himself when he realised that he was just completely tied up by his bag strap. It's like, oh yeah, I can relate to those moments. And I just love that I can, laugh at myself in those moments. Instead of getting frustrated, oh, I missed my bus, it's just like, oh, no, look how ridiculous I am. Look how funny this situation is. Just take a step, take a beat, pause, and think about how funny this is. The next book I read had to fit the horror category. Again, I just tried to choose something as tame as possible. And it was a book that a friend had read called Bunny. And when she was telling me about it, like, it just sounded like a trip, and it sounded like something I should give a try. And so I read it because I was intrigued, and my goodness, this book is a trip. Like, you don't really know what's true, you don't know what's happening, you don't know what's real, you question everything. I had an epic twist at the end, and sort of two twists at the end. But the main big one, threw me for a loop. I was like, what? And it made me rethink everything. I love a book that can make you rethink everything at the end. I love a book that makes you want to go back to the start and read it again. And especially the very last twist at the very end of the book, that one threw me as well. Not as in a bigger way, but still in a way that made me question things. And this book was actually deep. So this is one that I couldn't stop thinking about afterwards, because there were so many deep themes. There was just so much to, like, dig up. It was doing a lot. It was very sophisticated. It's sort of like a literary fiction type book. Beautiful prose, beautiful descriptions, and very deep, very, very deep. And kind of, you left not really knowing what to think. You're left reeling at the end. There were some quite brutal parts through it that I did struggle to read. It's not the type of book I could ever recommend to anyone, but just, as a person who loves to read widely, I'm glad I read it, really glad I read it, because I've never read anything like it before. And if a book makes me think about it after I've read it, it's done its job. It has done its job. I'm just going to loop this video maybe a few times as I share all the books I read for Book Bingo. So the next book I read was The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which ticks off the mystery box. And this was great because I really wanted to read Agatha Christie. I wanted to read classics in different genres. There was a phase where I really wanted to read like the best books of every genre, because, like I said, I like to read widely. As a reader, as a writer, I like being exposed to different writing styles, be exposed to different books with different content and styles, and it's themes, everything. So this one was great to read, like a really well done mystery. So I just Googled, like, what's the best Agatha Christie book? And this one came up a lot. So, and I can see why. It was pretty quick read. And the twist, absolutely amazing twist. I didn't see it coming. I know other people did see it coming, but for me, I was just like, I did question it at the beginning. I thought maybe it's him. Again, spoilers. So it didn't come completely out of nowhere, because I did think, it did cross my mind, but I dismissed it as the book went on. So it did a really good job, and very intriguing, very interesting. It was just worth it to figure out the mystery. I do say though, like, I got a bit lost in the middle in terms of I lost a bit of interest. You kind of find out a lot of the backstories and mysteries of these other characters, but the thing that my only critical thing was that they didn't really connect with the overall plot. Like, they were just red herrings, basically. And it's good to have a red herring, and it was good to wrap up those stories and find out those tidbits, but it would have been, I think, a lot deeper, more sophisticated if they somehow, like, intertwined or something, I don't know, with the main theme. Because you find out a lot of fun stuff, but in the end, it doesn't really matter, because it doesn't get you any closer to the final mystery reveal. What it does do is rules out things. That's what it does. But other than that, I wish that the story of how it ruled things out progressed things as well. Anyway, minor, very minor, top-notch, wonderful book. I would give it 5 stars for the genre, but because it's not a personal genre that I'm quite into, I'd probably give it 4 stars, sorry. Because I have different ratings based on, like, it could be the most well-written book, like Bunny. Like, again, that could probably be a 5-star book for how well it is written. But for me, I'd give it like 2 stars for enjoyment factor, in terms of it's not my type of book. I'm not into horror. Anyway, so The Let Them Theory was the next book I read for an audiobook. And this is by Mel Robbins, and I totally recommend this book, especially as an as an audiobook, because the author reads it and it just sounds like you're listening to a podcast. Very interesting, very engaging, very practical. I got so many insights. I took so many notes, and the amazing thing is that I could instantly apply the lessons I learned. And it's been a book that's helped me all of this year pretty much, because I did try and read it at the beginning of the year. I got through maybe the first quarter, and then because it's just such a deep book, I wanted to go from the beginning again. So this gave me the chance to go from the beginning and take notes this time. But I've been using the tools from the first quarter of the book since I read that. And I just picked up more and more tools as I kept reading it. So it's been super helpful for my well-being in life, and gave me the question, maybe I'll talk about this in a future video, of what kind of person do I want to be? If I ever struggle in life, that's all I have to ask, is what kind of person do I want to be, and just do that. The next book I read was called Dear Cousin, and this ticks off the true crime category. And I read this one because one of the ladies in book club did a review for it. And when I read her review, it intrigued me. So I listened to it as an audiobook. And again, it just sounded like a podcast. Very quick read, 4 hours to listen to. And yeah, very intriguing. I actually listened to it again because now that I know the big reveal, I wanted to listen to it again now that I knew that. Because basically the idea is this lady is looking for her long lost family. And back in the early days of the internet, that's how she came across what she thought was her cousin or cousins. But I'm going to give it all away. Basically, none of them were her family. It was just a person who was pretending to be all of these people, and it just spiraled completely out of control. And yeah, it was a wild ride and kept me guessing throughout the podcast. So yeah, it was very intriguing read. The next book I read was Big Magic from my to be read pile. I've already read it, but it's always on my to be read because I love reading it every couple of years. And yeah, got so much out of it again. Every time I read it, I get something out of it. And I love that I get something different each time. Took lots of notes, and perfect timing for, as I work on my next book, the sequel to Lamp in Dark Places. That book really encouraged me with my sequel, just giving me the words to articulate, like, why am I writing my sequel? What's the point? What's the purpose? And why do I do this? So that really helped. I actually want to read it again next year and take notes for my book. The next book I read was The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, a book with a witch in it. It ticks off that category. Oh dear, this book. Okay, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this book because I love the story. I really love the story. I enjoy the movie. I enjoyed the TV show. Was it a TV show? Always enjoyed the story. Even as a kid, loved the story. Still love it as an adult. Just don't like the book. I don't enjoy reading it. I tried as a kid to read it. I thought, okay, this is the first time. I'll read it now for the first time all the way through. I tried. I couldn't even get through the first page. I just couldn't. So I switched over to audiobook and just listened to it that way. And even that, I wasn't really enjoying it. I don't know, maybe it's a style of writing. I don't know what it is, but I just can't get into this book, even though I love the story. The next book I read was just a very short one for a classic spooky tale, The Telltale Heart. So I'd always kind of wanted to read the classics, because as a reader and writer, I kind of believe in reading the classics just to be exposed to good writing, even if it's not writing that I enjoy necessarily or books that I enjoy. I just want to be exposed to good writing. So The Telltale Heart, Edgar Allan Poe. I can never remember. Is it Alan Edgar? No, it's Edgar Allan Poe, isn't it? Alan Edgar Poe? No, that doesn't sound right. But that book, I listened to an audiobook as well, and in one go, like it's just 15 minutes. And I was a bit worried that it was going to be scary, but the narration that I found, the narrator read it in a way that wasn't sinister at all, wasn't creepy or sinister or dark. He played it more playful and more delusional. To the point where I found it quite enjoyable because it was so funny. Just how delusional the main character is. Where he's like, oh, so slowly did I put my head in the room, so slowly. I was just having a blast listening to it. And it was very poetic. I can see why it was good writing. It read like a poem, really. Very kind of clever, very witty. So it was a great experience. I enjoyed it. But it all depends on the narrator. When I listen to audiobooks, I do hunt around to find the right narrator because it really shapes your whole experience. And the first few books that I found, they were all very dark, slow, plodding, serious narrators, like slowly, like very dark, grim, spooky tellings. And I was like, I can't do spooky. I don't want spooky. So when I found this lighthearted, more, so slowly I put my head in the room. I was like, oh my gosh, that's great. This is the best one because not spooky at all. And it's just so fascinating. The audiobooks, it really colours how the book comes across depending on who reads it. Okay, the next book I read was The Guest List for category A Book with a Big Baddie in it. So this one, I was just looking for a page turner again, just something quick and easy with a mystery that hooks you straight from the start. So this one did that from the start. It was a little bit, kind of reminded me of All the Liars, sort of the same vein, a little bit, not the most sophisticated writing, but, just a fun surface level mystery. What I really did like about it though was how the big reveal was a good reveal, a good twist. And I love so the book alternated between multiple characters' perspectives, and what I love is how each character was actually connected to who the big baddie was. Like, it was kind of like a twist upon a twist upon a twist, because each time you found out how each character knew the big baddie, you're just like, oh, wow. Yeah, so it did it really well for that. I was very impressed with that. It gave me those moments of, whoa. So this book bingo for Halloween, I read so many mysteries and so many books with twists. I kind of felt like I would need a break from twists for a while, because I love mysteries. I love twists because I love books that make me, on the edge of my seat, want to finish it I love page turners. Page turners are the best. But for a while there, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can take all these twists, like they're messing with my mind. Anyway, so the next book that I read was Artemis, a book with a black cover by Andy Weir. I really enjoyed The Martian that he wrote, and I really enjoyed Project Hail Mary. So I always wanted to read Artemis because I enjoyed those two books, but this one, unfortunately, I did not really like at all. I got through it okay. There was some interesting moments. The middle part grabbed me the most. The middle part was page turnery for me, but the ending just fell completely flat. I wasn't really engaged. I wasn't really interested in the characters, and I wasn't really interested in the premise. Basically, mobsters trying to take over the moon. I didn't really care about it, that storyline. I'm like, let them, who cares? But I really enjoyed the main part that I loved most, because in every book, I want to find something that I like. I want to praise something because, every book has its merits. This book, I really enjoyed the world. I loved being on the moon. I loved figuring out what the whole system was on the moon and that kind of thing. The next book I read was Thorn Hedge, a book with a monster in it, and this was a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. So right up my alley because I love Sleeping Beauty, and it's a very short book, like a novella. I read it in one go, and very kind of like a very new take on the story. Very, in a way, subversive, goes very unexpected, and I like that. I like unexpected, when books go in an unexpected direction with, really unexpected characters. And yeah, it was a fun book. It was a light-hearted, fun book. And the next book I read was Legends and Lattes, for a book with cozy fall vibes. Now, this one was a big surprise. This is probably the biggest surprise out of all the books because I really, really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would because I don't tend to like cozy books. Like I said, I need thrillers. I need something that can have me on the edge of my seat. So cozy books usually don't do it for me. They usually take me forever to read. But this one I read in one day, and it was just so sweet, very sweet. And I just really enjoyed, my favorite part was the beginning where the main character was opening a cafe, and it was just about her meeting different people who could help her build this cafe. And I just loved following the journey of the walls going up and the oven going in and the bread being baked and the coffee being made, and like super cozy, not really much plot wise, but I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying seeing how this cafe is coming together. And I'm really enjoying, like, for me, even though it was a cozy book and nothing like big in terms of plot happens, there was always action. There was always something happening in the cafe. There was always someone you were meeting. There was always someone buying something or making something. So I felt like there was a lot of plot in terms of, sorry, not plot. There was a lot of action happening. There's always something happening. So that's why I was never bored in this book. So a big, really surprise. I really enjoyed it. Again, not my type of book, so I'd probably give it 4 stars for just how enjoyable the experience of reading it was. But in the end, like, gave me nothing in terms of like life lessons or insights or new perspectives. It didn't change me in any way. But for the experience of reading it, wonderful, fun experience. But just yet not my type of book. Like I want to have to think about it. Like it didn't make me think about it afterwards. It didn't make me go, oh, let's think deeply about this, which is what I want from a book. So the next book I read did make me think about it. Fight Club, for a thriller. Again, my friend recommended this, the same one who read Bunny, because she had read this and I was very surprised. Like, I didn't pick you for that. And she was like, yeah, it was one of her favorite books that she'd read. And I was like, okay, I will give it a go. And I actually really enjoyed it too. Not in the same way at all of enjoying Legends and Lattes. This one was, again, brutal. Some parts were very hard to read. But it had a mystery that hooked me. And what I really liked was this was a sophisticated book, well written, very interesting style that made me work. I like a book that can make me work for it, where you have to think and figure things out. And each chapter had a really unique structure where it kind of gave away something at the beginning, and you're spending the rest of the chapter trying to figure out, how did we get here? Like, how did we find out what happens? And then within the chapter, it kind of alternates between multiple, like, present and past tense, but it doesn't announce, now we're in the present tense, or now we're in the past tense. You kind of just have to figure it out as you go. So sometimes I would have to reread a section just to be like, oh, that was his voice, that was his thoughts in the past, that's not his present thoughts, or vice versa. And I know that could sound like really complicated, but I enjoyed it because it kept me on edge, like it kept me engaged. So the very ending as well left it open-ended, which I enjoyed. That left me with a question, like, ooh, who was it at the end? Was it Tyler? Or so, spoiler alert again. I already knew the big twist in this one. I haven't watched the movie. It sounds way too brutal to watch. But my podcast, Psychology Settle, that I'm a patron of and a member of, they reviewed it, and so I found out the twist from there, basically. So I was reading the book knowing this twist, and yeah, I still, like, it didn't diminish it, I don't think. Like, I didn't get the wow factor of the twist, but I enjoyed the ride, trying to figure out, like, what is going on, what is happening. Yeah, very interesting book. The next book I read was The Picture of Dorian Gray for a Gothic book. I read this when I was a teenager, and it was the only classic that I could get through back then. I tried Pride and Prejudice and things like Sense and Sensibility. I just struggle with classics. It's not my writing style. I don't really enjoy that writing style at all. But The Picture of Dorian Gray was manageable. I could get through it. It was interesting enough, and that's why I say that's my favourite classic. However, I listened to the audiobook thinking, oh yeah, that'd be good to revisit that book. And I was not interested at all in this second reading, although there were interesting parts. The first half I quite enjoyed. I know there's a lot of dialogue. And then in the middle section, there's a lot of description where I was very uninterested in it. But the audiobook version that I found was really fun because each character was played by a different voice actor. And that was really fun to listen to. But two criticisms, just personal opinions. The narrator, I just found their voice not great for the role. You kind of want the narrator to blend in and not be a character, but this narrator like kind of overstepped, it felt like. And then the voice narrator for Dorian, I didn't see it at all. I pictured Dorian as like suave and charming and bright, but the voice actor kind of played him very laconic and kind of slow and like a dullard. Like I just thought he sounds like a dullard, and just very like lazy. He just sounded like, oh, ho hum, oh, life this and life that, instead of like full of zest and life and trying to like figure out life. And but yeah, when I look back, you know, there were interesting things. I can see why I liked it as a teenager, kind of exploring it, kind of how to live life, what's the meaning, and ethics and morality and things like that, culture. And yeah, it has its merits, but I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling it when I was listening to it then. Next book I read was The Wind in the Willows for a book with an animal character. This was great to tick off because this is another book that I always wanted to read, a classic. I never read it as a kid. I wish maybe that I did, but I tried a few times to read this throughout my life. Same thing as Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I can't get past the first page. It's so bizarre, but I try not to now, I guess, judge what I like and don't like and just let it be. And, you know, I wish that I liked classics. I wish that I liked reading these books. But I just can't get into The Wind in the Willows. But I listened to the audiobook and yeah, it was okay. Yeah, didn't really care about the characters that much. It was just a bit of fun, you know. Maybe if I read it as a kid, I would have liked it because I could see myself liking that kind of book because it reminded me of Snugglepot and Cuddle Pie, which I really loved. But for whatever reason, it's not a book for me, I guess. But I'm glad I read it, finally. Next book I read was The Halloween Tree, which is a book that takes place during October for that box. This was a bit of a surprise, actually. I thought it was going to be scary, but it wasn't. It was quite delightful. It was like it reminded me of like The Secret Seven or something, where this group of young boys go on an adventure through time to different places in history as they discover the meaning of Halloween, and each boy is dressed up as a different character, so they go, you know, one is a mummy, so they go to Egypt for that, and I kind of found it quite fun. It was just like a fun story. Again, not for me in terms of like, it's not a book I would read by choice, but for this book bingo, it was fun to read for book bingo. And I could see it being made as a movie, actually, and if I could actually see this being like a really fun read for young boys in particular. So yeah, that was quite a fun surprise. And I was really touched because the boys in the story are trying to go on this journey to save their friend. One of the boys is, in the story I think he was captured, but in real life he was sick in hospital. But they go on this journey to save him. And it was just really sweet that the boys were doing that for their friend. Anyway, the next book and the final book that I read for Book Bingo was Anne of Green Gables for a book in a cozy setting. And this was so delightful as well. another classic, I guess, that I thought I wouldn't enjoy. I thought this would be like The Wind in the Willows and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But I found an audiobook version where the narrator, oh my goodness, 5 stars. She was amazing. Her voice was just perfect for Anne, but her voice was also perfect for every other character. Like, my goodness, amazing voice acting. And because I had watched Anne with an E, it literally felt like I was watching Anne with an E. Like, I pictured every scene. I was so amazed by how true, especially the first part of the book, was to following that TV series to a T. Since I was first exposed to Anne with an E, that's my frame of reference. And like, I really enjoyed Anne with an E. I found it as well delightful and charming. So to read the book, it just felt like, oh, I'm watching Anne with an E. I can visualize it all in my head. And yeah, but the voices were just delightful. It was one of those audiobooks where I didn't want to stop listening. It was that delightful. So yeah, I'm glad I read that book too. So those are all the books that I read for Book Bingo, and I'm glad I've now recorded this. I use like these videos as like an online diary, I suppose, like an online journal where I can record what's happened in my life of note and can share thoughts on books and things that mean something to me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this very chatty video if you like books as well. And maybe that gave you some ideas for books you might want to read. Let me know if you've read any of these books that I read and what you thought about them. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
A big thank you to my beautiful patrons supporting me and this channel. Thank you so much for believing in what I do. And if you would like to support this channel, become a patron. There is a link down below in the description box where you get access to extra videos, behind the scenes looks, as well as printables that are exclusive to my patrons, as well as every single digital kit in my Etsy available to my rubies. Higher tier patrons also get access to mail that is sent to them. Some of my courses and my books are available too through Patreon. And if you would like to support my channel by becoming a member, you can do that by clicking the join button as well and selecting the tier that suits you. So thank you so much to all of you from the bottom of my heart.